Hey everyone, my name is Amanda, and today I'm recreating Leah Halton's makeup look. You probably recognize her from TikTok. One of her videos got like hundreds of millions of plays, and it was absolutely crazy. She had a very viral moment, but I thought, why not create her makeup look on my channel here for you guys, because I'm obsessed with her style of makeup. It just is so universally flattering, so pretty in photos, and definitely very my style. So yeah, if you want to know exactly how to achieve this makeup look, make sure you keep on watching. But before we get into it, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and also hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on any of my future uploads. But yeah, let's get right into it. Okay, so we're going to start off with our base. I'm going to go in with foundation, which I don't normally do, but it looks like Leah does use a bit of a higher coverage foundation, maybe medium to full coverage. So I'm going to go in with the Fenty Beauty Soft Lit Naturally Luminous Longwear Foundation in the shade 120. I've surprisingly really been loving this foundation lately. You guys probably know if you watch my channel, not a huge fan of foundation, but this one's really, really good. Especially if you have dry skin, this just hydrates the skin so nicely and it doesn't look cakey. And I'm just using the Fenty Beauty 145 foundation brush to press this into my skin. I'm not applying too much of it. I'm really just trying to apply an even, thin layer, just to give me a good base layer of coverage. All right, I'm feeling pretty good about this amount of coverage. It did kind of even out my skin. My blemishes are hiding a little bit. But again, it doesn't make me feel weird. Sometimes foundation makes me feel like not myself. I just don't feel confident. I feel like I'm wearing a mask. But for some reason, this just doesn't do that. I love it. Now we're gonna go in with some contour. Obviously, Leah is way more tan than me. She has a beautiful tan medium complexion, and I just don't. I was gonna self-tan, but I did not. So we're going to be recreating this look for more of a fair skin tone. So I'm going in with the Westman Atelier Face Trace Contour Stick in the shade Biscuit. And I noticed that Leah uses a little bit of a warmer bronzer contour situation. I don't typically use super warm bronzer on me because it can run a little orange, but this Westman Atelier contour stick is actually a really good, almost like neutral contour. It's not too cool, but it's definitely not too warm. It looks really good on my light skin tone and it blends really, really easily. I'm basically just applying this all over the outskirts of my face and then blending it in with my Makeup by Mario F4 brush. So I'm kind of breezing through my contour, but if you want to know how I contour super in depth, I walk you through pretty much every single step so you can master contouring. It's the last video I did. I'm going to link it on the screen and in the description box. So that added a lot of warmth to my skin, brought a little bit of life to my face, but now we're going to add some blush. Leah's blush looks a little bit more kind of like mauve-y, cool toned, so I'm going to go in with these new blushes from Armani actually. These are their Luminous Silk Cheek Tints, and I'm going to mix two shades. So I'm going to mix shade 62 as well as 53. 62 is this beautiful mauve-y, almost kind of a berry color, whereas shade 53 is more of a Barbie pink. I'm just going to add a little bit of that in just to brighten up the blush a little bit. I've never tried these before, so this is my first impression. Ooh, this actually looks pretty close to the shade that Leah appears to be wearing. Just really pretty mauve-y shade. I'm going to blend that out using my Rare Beauty blush brush. Ooh. Oh, these are way more pigmented than I thought. So Leah blends her blush right up high on her cheek to kind of give a more lifted, almost sunburned effect. So I'm trying to replicate that here. And then actually blend it out really nice. It's quite pigmented, but it's pretty forgiving once you blend it out. She definitely applies a little bit of blush on her nose as well. So I'm just going to take whatever's left over on my brush and just kind of sweep it across my nose. The blush actually looks really similar to what Leah's wearing, especially on my skin tone. I think this is the perfect cool tone mauve blush. I'm going to go in with a tiny bit of shade 53, just focusing it more on the apples of my cheek, just for a little bit of an ombre, a little bit of brightness. I feel like that added some nice dimension to the blush. I love an ombre blush moment. Now for concealer, I cannot stop using this concealer. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. It's the Armani Luminous Silk Concealer, and I'm using the shade 3.75. This concealer is so good for avoiding creasing. I use it under my eyes and in my smile lines, and it just sits so nicely. It gives the perfect amount of coverage. It's thin, but it's like a medium to full coverage. It feels so light on the skin. Yeah, I really can't say enough good things with this concealer. I've been using it every single day. So now that all of our cream products are applied, I'm gonna let that marinate on my face a little bit, but before moving on to the eyes, I'm gonna set everything using my Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. I apply a pretty generous amount of that. I feel like it just melts everything together, and it also makes your makeup last way longer. For eyes, her makeup is actually pretty simple. I'm gonna go in with my Makeup by Mario Master Mattes palette in the neutral color scheme, and I'm gonna mix these two shades together. I'm always mixing shades together in this palette to create my perfect shade, but I'm gonna pick that up on a fluffy blending brush. This one is a rougher 27, and before going in on my eyes, because her makeup is so soft and airbrushed, I'm going to swirl my brush just on the palm of my hand to get rid of any excess and to make sure the brush is evenly coated before we go in on our eyelid. And it looks like she just has a really soft contour on her eyes, so I'm just going to start applying that shadow. I'm trying to be really soft with it. I don't want to be able to tell where this begins or where this ends. A little trick I like to do is I like to take either a clean blending brush or even just my powder brush, and that's what I'm going to use today. And then I just run it over my lid to make everything super, super diffused. I'm being really light-handed, just kind of like swishing the brush over where I applied the shadow, and it just softens everything up really nicely. See how it just looks airbrushed? You really can't tell where the shadow starts, where it ends. That's exactly what we're trying to go for. And it looks like she takes the tiniest amount of that on her lower lash line, mainly on the outer part. So I'm just going to take the tiniest little bit of that color combination we created and just dust it on my lower lash line, just connecting it at the outer corner so it all blends nicely together. I love how subtle this looks. It's very soft, very natural, very up my alley. It looks like she has a bright shade all over her lid, so I'm just going to use the same palette. I'm going to take this shade right here. This is the lightest one, and I'm just going to pack that all over my lid and a little bit on the lower lash line as well, just on the inner part. This is going to make our eyes look bigger, brighter, more awake. I really love a bright matte shade all over the lid. I think it looks so good. Now, time for eyeliner. I'm a little nervous for this part because I honestly don't wear black liquid liner on myself very often, but I'm going to attempt it today. I'm going in with my Urban Decay 24/7 inks in the shade 0, and I'm just attempting to do a winged liner. Leah's wing is definitely pronounced. It's not too thin, but it's definitely not too thick either. It's just like a classic wing. So I'm extending the tail of the wing out towards my temple, and I'm stopping that wing probably halfway across my lid, no more than that. If you have bigger eyes than me, you can go more in towards your inner corner, but for me, I'm gonna stop right at the center of my lid. And I've just got a little baby Q-tip on hand just to clean up any mistakes. And we're gonna clean this up a little bit later, but I'm just gonna move on to the next eye. And just remember, it doesn't have to be perfect at this stage. We're gonna clean it up a little bit more later. Okay, so now that we have our general shape, we're just going to perfect everything with a little bit of concealer. I'm using the same Armani concealer I used earlier, putting a little bit of that just on the back of my hand and taking a little detailed brush like this. You can use whatever you want. You can use an angled brush, whatever, just something small that you can get a straight line with. And then I just like to take a little bit of that concealer and go right underneath. And this is just going to give us a really nice, sharp, clean wing. Okay, I can breathe again. Winged liner is done. Thank God. The Urban Decay liquid liner actually made it pretty easy. I do like that liquid liner, although I don't do it very often. I think this turned out okay. I'm gonna go in with mascara. I've been loving this one. It's from L'Oreal. It's the Panorama mascara. I just think it's so good. It's easy to apply. You really only need one coat and then you are done. It doesn't clump. It goes on super easy, makes your lashes look thick and long. And I feel like, yeah, it looks pretty similar to what Leah's wearing. It doesn't look like she's wearing much mascara on her bottom lashes, so I'm just gonna avoid those today and focus on the top lashes. If you're a little messy when you apply mascara like me, just wait till your mascara dries and then clean up just with a spoolie. Any mascara that got on your eyelids, you can just flick it off, and it's way easier to clean your mascara this way. Okay, so moving on to setting the rest of the face, Leah's makeup, it's actually interesting. So her makeup is really matte, but she keeps her cheeks really glowy. So I'm gonna go ahead and mattify most of my face. I'll do it kind of strategically and show you. Starting with the under eyes, I'm going to use the Pat McGrath Baby Pink Sublime Perfection Blurring Under Eye Powder. I love this one for setting the under eyes, and I actually just use it with a powder puff. This one is from Tunil Jai, and I just like to swirl my powder puff in that powder. And then I'll just double check that there are no little creases underneath my eyes. And honestly, no surprise, even without setting this concealer, there are like no creases, so the step isn't really necessary, but I like to be pretty diligent about this because if you set your creases in, you're pretty much doomed. So I take that powder and I just press it in and really just focus on evenly coating that under eye area with that powder. This is super, super finely milled and very mattifying and blurring. And any excess you can just dust away using a powder brush. Okay, so that's what I use for underneath my eyes. For the rest of my face, I like to use a different powder. This one's super blurring and mattifying as well. This is by Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Airbrush Flawless Setting Powder. And I just picked this up with a powder brush, and I'm gonna just set in very strategic areas, pretty much anywhere I get oily. So for me, that is my forehead and in between my brows. So I will just apply that powder right there. And I'm gonna get really good around my mouth area too. And I'll also just set right underneath my contour. You wanna leave this area still pretty untouched because we don't want it to be too matte, but we're gonna add some glow. So I'm reaching for my Hourglass Ambient Lighting Palette. This one is a limited edition. It is the Jellyfish version. I'm just gonna mix these two shades together. This is more of a setting powder and this is like a highlighting powder, but I like to mix the two together so it's not too crazy. And then I'm just gonna press it into my cheekbone area. So pretty. Hourglass highlighters are so stunning. I hate a chunky glittery highlighter, and these never do that. These are always so smooth and they catch light so good. Oh, I love it. I'm gonna put a little on the tip of my nose as well. A little extra glow. And don't forget the inner corner. I'm also gonna apply a little bit of that highlight right on the inner corner of my eye because Leah usually has her inner corner nice and highlighted, which I personally love. So I already have lip stuff on already. I have a little bit of lipstick and lip liner, but I'm gonna just go right on top. I'm using MAC Whirl Lip Liner, which is one of my favorites, and I'm just overlining my lips. Leah really overlines, so we're gonna kind of amp it up a little bit. And it kind of looks like to me, at least in this picture, that her cheeks and lips are almost monochromatic. They're kind of matching. So I'm going to go in with that same Armani blush. Which one is this? This is the shade 62. I'm just going to dot a couple little dots of this on my lip. Not too much because it's pretty pigmented. And I'm going to press that in using my finger. I feel like her lip combo is a little bit more like dusty, if that makes sense. So I feel like this is a little bit too vibrant. So I'm gonna go in with MAC Faux on the lips. This looks really, really similar to what Leah's wearing. So I'm just gonna press this right on top. It's not super different, but it is a little bit dustier. Okay, that's a little better, but I still feel like we need a little something else. I'm gonna take MAC Myth now and layer that on top, right in the center only. It's gonna kind of mute that color down a little bit. Okay, so the lip combo looks different on me than it does on her, obviously, but I do think this is pretty close to what she's wearing. Just a very mauvey, dusty lip. And in the picture, she's not wearing lip gloss, but I want to wear some gloss. So I'm going in with the Huda Beauty Faux Filler in the shade Glassy. I'm just going to put a little bit right in the center of my lip. This lip gloss is really sticky, so you can't apply too much, otherwise it'll start sticking to itself. Okay, so for a final touch, I'm actually going to dip right into this Hourglass palette that I had earlier. I'm going to pick up a little bit of this mauvey blush, and I'm just going to tap that right on top. It's going to give a little bit of a glow to the cheek. Okay, and one last step, we cannot forget faux freckles. Leah has the cutest freckles, so I'm going to add some freckles, mainly just around my nose. The key when applying freckles is not to make them too pretty or too perfect, just kind of go in messily and they're going to look a lot more natural. And then after I apply a few dots, I like to tap it out with my finger. All right, and that is it for my Leah Halton makeup look. What do you guys think? Do you think I got it pretty close? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you liked this video, do not forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and also hit the bell notification if you don't want to miss out every time I post. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.